What's up, guys? Welcome back to the fifth episode of Brown Syndrome. My name is Arth.
My name is Yuvansh.
Hi guys, it's Mehak. So for today's episode, we thought of doing something different. So I thought it would be nice to not just have the three of us, but a lot of people, our family and friends, on today's podcast and hear them talk about certain topics. So we've chosen a wide range of topics from LGBT and the community and to God, atheism, and war on China, weed, all different topics. So we are going to have and different age groups as well. So we have like ranging from my younger brother who's like 7 to 13 to 20s. And I'm also going to have my dad speaking on the podcast. So there's a lot of stuff and we hope you enjoy it. Okay. Okay, so guys, this is my dad.
Hi, bachas. Hi, everyone.
So Papa, what do you think about weed?
Weed. It's something everybody should try once in a lifetime. No harm in trying. I have tried it myself. लेकिन किसी भी चीज का आदत नहीं लगनी चाहिए. ऐसा कुछ करो. Know your limits. Know when to stop. Enjoy your life.
So
You only have one life.
You're okay with me doing weed?
I'm absolutely okay for you to try. In fact, I can have it with you. We can have it together.
Isn't he the coolest dad in the world? Yes.
Why would I want you to do anything outside when I would love to do it when you can do it with me? I'll be more than happy.
Okay, so Jani Auntie, what do you think about children doing weed or weed in general?
I am totally not for it because it forms a kind of an addiction. It gives a high which is only because of the drug. The high should be because of some good job you are doing which should give you a high. It should not be because of a chemical which you are flushing into your body. So, and then once you get into it, you need more and more of it and you can't do without it. So I don't favor the use of weed, but this new generation is all for it because it gives them a feeling of ecstasy, and and then they just want more and more of it. So I would not recommend it.
Hi, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Sama. I'm 21.
Yes, great. Okay, so Sama, what are your thoughts, or are you for or against the death penalty?
I see. Very hard to give an answer on this. That's, I'd say, less than like 2 minutes. But objectively, I do not favor capital punishment. No, if I could sum it up, I have a whole world of information that I've sort of like tried to take in.
Whatever you want.
Okay, so in my opinion, firstly, I don't think capital punishment is just. It doesn't. Okay, let's start firstly on the side of the perpetrator of whatever crime has been done and whatever crime the perpetrator has been set to commit. Generally, things like punishments, jail, incarceration, these are all things that are put in place as deterrents to deter people from committing a crime, because you know that, okay, if I rob a bank, there's XYZ consequence that I'll be put in jail. When you give somebody a capital punishment, in today's date, it's not acting as the right deterrent anymore at this point. If we know somebody we don't know somebody. If somebody is committing a crime that's heinous enough for them to be given the capital punishment, I think there's something wrong to begin with. There's something that we're not understanding about that person. Let's maybe take an example that somebody murders some other human, somebody that they don't even know, right? If somebody is homicidal, it's not because they woke up one day saying, "Aaj mere ko bore ho raha hai, chal, let's go murder somebody." Something very deep-rooted is wrong to begin with for somebody to feel that I have the power to control, to decide that person B does not get to live. So firstly, I think we need to start fixing that. Secondly, jails and prison systems are meant to be places for people to get better, to reform. we all know how failed our systems are as of right now. No person comes out of a jail. Yes, I am being very reductive, I am generalizing a lot, but when I say a very large population of the people leaving a jail after having completed their sentence, they haven't learned anything.
My name is Ashan Vijay, and I'll be turning 17 next month.
Okay, great, perfect. Okay, so Ishan, what are your thoughts, and are you for or against the death penalty?
Am I for or against the death penalty? I'm for the death penalty.
Elaborate.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's mostly because of like the society that I've grown around. I've seen and I've heard about stories about like terrorists from Bombay getting the death penalty, and it seems to have a lot of positive reaction in terms of positive appreciation of the justice system among the people of India. For example, when Kasab was hanged in Bombay, I saw a lot of positive reaction and a positive appreciation of the justice system, even though it was late, to give justice, which the people and the justice system felt was the death penalty, to this terrorist. And I think it's important because it establishes precedent, which is again how the justice system works. It establishes precedent about how things supersede your own existence, and like certain crimes need to be dealt with in a punishable offense, which is as great as death.
Uh, Understood, but don't you think that first of all, this is just me talking. It's not like a fact. I do not believe that anyone should have the power to decide life and death. But even to move, looking at it from a less utopian way, don't you think that people that commit, terrorists, for example, or rapists, or people that have attempted murder, or are serial killers, for example, who have been given the death penalty, don't you think that obviously they weren't born terrorists, right? They were not born with that they will grow up to become rapists or terrorists or murderers. So don't you think it's a duty of not us but the judicial system or the prison system, for example, to not give them a death penalty but give them the appropriate imprisonment time that they give them, and to hopefully reform them as people, and when they do come out, they're better people.
So first of all, I don't see what's wrong with death. I mean, it's a very radical thought, and I'm not like necessarily keeping this enclosed to the death penalty. In general, I don't see the negativity that is associated with death. I see the negativity associated with having someone die and feeling left alone because of that, but I don't see the negativity associated with death. So that's my first claim. Secondly, about what you mentioned, I think the death penalty is should take precedence over rehabilitation in certain cases, because it sets apart in terms of morality. So obviously one could argue about how your morality is different from mine. You might think genocide is bad because that is emotivism. You might think genocide is bad, and essentially when you say genocide is bad, what you do mean is I think genocide is bad. So I can argue that I think genocide is good. I mean, that's what I can say. And the importance of and the importance of justice system here come into play in absolutism, in terms of defining clearly what's right and wrong. And something like a terrorist attack, it's immoral to like have two sides of the argument where someone is saying that it's justified because I feel it's justified. Because in a society like that, it will form an unfair advantage. In terms of the human society, in an animalistic way, I think it makes perfect sense to like do whatever you wish to, but in terms of the human society in civilization, it doesn't make sense to have that openness in an argument of morality and justice.
Understood.
So that's why I think the death penalty should take precedence over rehabilitation in certain cases, because a death penalty is considered to be so serious that it sets apart a clear demarcation between crimes that can be forgiven and that can be given sentences which deserve rehabilitation, compared to those that like are inexcusable and thus they require the death penalty. So obviously rehabilitation is required, and I think I think it depends on the situation. I don't think you can compare the death penalty and rehabilitation in a very general sense, because it obviously depends on who the accused is, what is the charge on the accused, and a lot of varied other things that are going on. And about the thing that you mentioned about how society affects the way an individual thinks, I think that's completely true. I mean, like, people coming from a conservative household in Texas are more likely to like believe conservatism is better than liberalism. But I mean, it's also up to like it's very difficult for an individual to like go against this societal influence that he or she or they are growing under. But I think the individual is also to be held responsible to a certain extent, and that's why this society influence should get nullified to a certain extent.
Understood. Okay.
Okay, so Anika, do you believe in God?
Yeah,
What do you think about the people who don't believe in God?
that's okay. My dad is an atheist. He turned to his family when all of us turned to God. He doesn't participate in all our rituals we do at home. He's just there for them. Like he's not against it. He just doesn't believe.
Okay, and you support that?
I'm okay with it.
Okay. Okay, so this is my mama and this is his son Arif, my brother. So, okay, so Siddhi Mama, what do you believe in God?
No, I don't believe in God.
Arif, do you believe in God?
Yes.
And Arif, what do you think about your papa not believing in God? Is it okay?
I don't think so. If there wasn't any God, why were all the chalisas and mantras and the temples made?
So why do you think papa should start believing in God?
Because he made us and all the planets and all. Even everyone once thought in the Renaissance period, everyone believed in God, and they thought that they will put the God's greatest creation, the earth, in the center of the planets, which is called heliocentric. And Galileo's work proved that the solar system is geocentric.
I'm just clarifying, we did not tell Arif any of this. We asked him one question and without giving him any preparation, this is what he has said. Arif, I'm very proud of you. Arif, do you want to tell Papa that you should believe in God?
Yes.
Okay. So Anika is going to be talking to us about the LGBTQ community. Anika, do you support the community?
Yeah,
Do you have any friends who belong to the community?
a few.
Okay. Have you had any experience with, or do you know any of your friends who have had who have faced bullying over this?
Yes.
You have? Okay, can you please tell us a little bit about it?
He was cyberbullied on social media.
Okay.
So a group was made and very disgusting terms were said to him, and he stood up for himself and exposed them, but he also received some backlash, and people were telling him he shouldn't have made it so public and he should have handled it himself. So that happened.
And do you think that all these rallies and protests that happen should continue? Do you think they're correct in what they're doing?
If the people in the community are given rights, then they shouldn't continue, but if they aren't, then yeah, they should.
Okay.
To move forward, I think, it's obviously axiomatic that, the LGBTQ community needs to be accepted more and so on and so forth. But what do you think is the state, I would say, of the LGBTQ community, or what would you think are ways where, not us, but people that are not accepted, do not accept it in its entirety, should do to, be more receptive?
Okay, so I'm really glad you asked me that, because I have a very radical view on this, and it may make me seem unempathetic, but it is what it is. I think, firstly, there's a distinction between sexuality and gender that is established, and I'm assuming your audience knows the difference as well. I think the system of sexuality it's called for, it's required, and it makes people feel included, and it clearly establishes differences between people of different sexualities. I think, and this is a claim that I've made several times in the past as well, I think the gender system is flawed, and in the long run it'll cause more gender normative divides in the long run. In the short
Okay,
run,
one
I
second,
completely accept it.
one
Yeah.
second. Are you saying that the gender system that of having only two genders is flawed, or the fact that there could be
Yeah, I
4,
was
5,
about to ask.
6, or so many and so forth genders is flawed? Like, what concept is flawed?
All of it. There is no need for the gender system in any way. In terms of there are only two, then in terms of the X or N number of gender systems, in any terms, the gender system itself is flawed. And if you want, I can explain that to you. So what I think is, let's say you're a trans man or a trans woman, and what that means is that, and it's like behavioral and and it's like seen in physical changes in your brain as well, that like there is a dissonance between the sexual, like reproductive organs that you have and the identity that you face. My problem with that is, as soon as you make a difference between what someone thinks of a male identity and a female identity, in itself is restrictive to that gender. For example, if you're a trans man and or you're a trans woman and you identify as a male, as like a male gender, you are clearly establishing that there is something that you lack, or there is something in addition to the female gender. So there's a difference between you feeling feminine and a difference between you feeling masculine. Because if you had to decide that you identify as a male gender, there is some kind of rationalization that needs to have gone on, in terms of you thinking that, okay, I don't have this, or I don't agree with this, that's why I'm masculine, or I agree with this, that's why I'm masculine. And when you think like that, you are clearly defining that when you think like this, you're masculine. And in the short run, it's important because it makes people feel included. The trans community in India, it's important. Trans community all over the world, and the LGBTQ plus LGBTQIA plus community across the world, it's important in the short term because it makes people feel inclusive, and it makes people makes the others more comfortable with people who are fluid with their gender, and with people who break gender normative barriers. But in the long run, if let's say I have a penis but I identify as a female, I am clearly not identifying as a male, and there's a difference between them that I'm implicitly identifying and I'm using. And I think that will cause a problem in the long run, is because if everyone makes a difference between masculinity and femininity, we're back where we started. I mean, we're like right now there's a difference between masculinity and femininity, and if we continue making a difference, it will continue like so in the future as well.
Great. I
You
mean,
understand?
like you said, it was radical, and hopefully people that are listening to this do not just shun it completely, and actually give um, a thought to what you just said, because while it
No,
may be
it's not
different,
about. I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but I'm saying there's no need for it apart from fueling your own. The only reason the gender system exists is to make people feel inclusive, to make people feel comfortable. Because I mean, why is your gender system necessary? I mean, okay, I wear a gown to school, but cool. I mean, what matters is sex. Sex clearly matters. You have a penis, you produce sperm, you are important for like creating progeny, you have a vagina, you develop eggs, you have a fallopian tube, and that's important. But I mean, if you wear a gown, I mean, obviously the gender system is more than just like cross dressing and things like that, but I don't see the point. I don't see why my gender should identify with my identity. Ishan Vijay is not something is not something determined by if I feel like a masculine or a feminine or not. If I had a vagina or if I had a penis, there might be a difference in like opportunities that I get in terms of like whatever, in terms of opportunity or like the wage gap or things like that exist, but it won't change who I am.
understood.
And
I mean, you're 4 years out of your existence as a part of the education system that all of us have gone through, the Indian education system. What would you think are your opinions on it? Pros, cons, whatever you think about it as a whole.
I owe a lot of my love for academia to the Indian education system. I cannot deny that the reason why I look forward to the next like 6-8 years of my life in like excitement that हाँ पढ़ने को मिलेगा अगले 8 साल के लिए is because स्कूल में कितना पढ़ाते थे बट बहुत मीनिंगलेस थी वो पढ़ाई. Everything was only done with the sole intention कि boards में 95 से ऊपर आना चाहिए. And that kind of made me not want to study, and it kind of made me want to study even more, because I'm like, this is not what education is like. So now I want to experience good education. And I've been seeking that good education for a while now. But the pros are that it teaches you so much. Time management, how to handle pressure. It taught me a lot about like how I know the reason I know how to study or how studying works for me is because of all the excessive padhai that used to happen in school. It taught me a lot about competition. It taught me how to respect competition. It taught me how to not worry about it at the same time.
Understood. But then, absolutely. But I think you or me or Yuvansh, for example, I feel it may be just the way that we've been brought up, where, you know, we can take the so-called pressure that, you know, everybody calls it. But what would you say to people that may not be as mentally evolved in a way, or where they can't take it?
I don't think I'm that kind that I just can take whatsoever pressure. That also is a consequence of this generation. I think everybody assumes that we're all very resilient and we're all very, I don't want to say bulletproof, but basically you throw whatever you can at them and they'll take it, or they have the capacity to take it. And I don't. School was really hard, but I went through it just fine. And then 3 years into college, I realized how not okay the pressure was for me. And I'm still I'm still learning. I'm still dealing with it. At no point I think I'll be perfectly like, oh yeah, what pressure? Pressure is nothing. I mean,
considering that you've been a part of the Indian education system for practically your entire life, and considering you're 17 years old, and you have been part of 2 different systems, what are your opinions on it, and what's the pros and cons, and what do you feel like, what do you feel overall about it, the education system?
Yeah, so I think the way the Indian educational system works is fantastic in terms of the content it teaches. And I think it's great for someone to do it during like the pre high school years, or like the years leading up to the 11th and 12th grade, because it teaches you like a wide array of subjects, at least the ICSE, and which is what I did. It taught me a wide array of subjects, and it taught me things that are closer to home. In history, it taught me a lot about the Indian independence, and I think that is important to me. And I think it's important to know about your own country, so I think that's a big pro. A major con that I see is the way it's tested. Math and physics are all right, but in a lot of subjects, the way it's tested is very content driven, and I don't necessarily agree with that system completely. So, and especially the English system is very content driven, and there's little to no analysis required. To sum it up, I think the content taught is amazing, but the way it's like examined, or the way you're tested in the system is, it's a problem.
So I'm going to be asking my dad about this, our generation. So Papa, what do you think about, what is your overall opinion about today's generation?
Couple of things. You guys are very exposed. You guys are very lucky, unlike us. Very privileged. And maximum youth does not value money today. I'm not saying all. लेकिन मैक्सिमम आज नहीं करते, क्योंकि आज उन लोग को सब चीज रेडिली अवेलेबल है. आपके पास इंटरनेट है, आपके पास द होल ग्लोब इज इन योर हैंड. हम लोग का टाइम में सब नहीं था. हम लोग को नहीं पता था कि दूसरे शहर में क्या हो रहा है. Now sitting at one place, you know exactly what's happening बड़ी in जुमरे तलैया, what's happening in बड़ी बम्बुडा. But yes, they are very focused. I would say it's 50-50. जो फोकस्ड है वो बहुत ज्यादा फोकस्ड है, और मैं एग्जैजरेट नहीं कर रहा बिकॉज आप मेरी बेटी हो. जैसे आपको पता है कि आप क्या कर रहे हो, एंड आई लाइक दैट. इसलिए आई लेट यू डू व्हाट यू वांट टू डू. लेकिन अगर आप कभी कुछ यहाँ वहां जाते हो हम आपको बोलते हैं कि आप मेरे हिसाब से ये आप शायद आप ठीक नहीं कर रहे हो, और आप ऐसे करोगे तो बेटर होगा। हमारे टाइम पे ये नहीं होता था। हमारे टाइम पे अगर बोल दिया फिनिश, देयर इज नो क्वेश्चनिंग अगेन, dare question again.
So you just think that we have a lot of freedom
You have a
today?
lot of freedom, you have a lot of freedom of speech, freedom of will, exposure, lucky.
You just think that we need to use it in the right way, no? That's what you're saying.
आपको चैनलाइज करना होगा राइट वे में, क्योंकि आप लोग को कहीं ना कहीं लगता है कि you guys are really very good. अरे पापा you don't know this, अरे मामा you don't know this, you know, what are you talking, what are you doing, you don't know this. जब हम आप लोग की एज में थे हम लोग को ये लगता था, लेकिन हमारी अर्थ बहुत छोटी थी, आप लोग की अर्थ बहुत बड़ी है. And it's, of course, it is all the exposure which is there for you guys and us. That's a difference. And yes, I am glad that you guys are born in this generation. You guys are aware. At least you know what is happening globally. You know what needs to be done for life, for future, for the universe.
Okay, so Janvi Auntie is going to be talking about her opinion of this generation overall. So what do you think?
I think this generation is really cool. They have a mind of their own. They are very sure about themselves, and I like that about this generation. And
Some negatives about our generation.
they are not ready to listen to anybody. Even if you give good suggestions, they feel they know everything, and that is most annoying.
So Arif is going to be talking about the war on China. So Arif, what do you think? What's going on?
War on China. China killed 20 Indian soldiers, and Indian soldiers, they killed 40 Chinese soldiers with stones and sticks. They weren't allowed to carry guns and shoot. So that is what happened.
But do you think it's good, bad?
Bad, it's too.
So now, Arif, have you now heard of, everybody that they are boycotting Chinese goods? People are saying not to buy Chinese goods.
Yeah, it's very bad, kharab quality.
It's kharab quality.
Everything is made in India also, but because Chinese products are cheap, everybody buys them.
So you think we should not buy Chinese products?
Yes.
Not at all. Okay.
So, okay, Sama, I'm sure you're informed about the recent aggression of China against India, and it has led to debates of whether we should go to war with them or we should retaliate with aggression. So, what is your opinion on that specific event, and what is your opinion generally on war and how it has impacted our world?
I think everything that we are today is a consequence of some war.
Yeah.
We've all fought some war, and it's shaped the people that we are today, and it's shaped the sentiments that we share today. The reason for me, coming from an army background, I think, I don't want to say war is it's not triggering, but the second someone mentions war, I always have this defensive sentiment that comes up. I always have this that like, oh no, we're not the ones in wrong. We haven't done anything wrong. We've always, हमारी तरफ से जंग हमेशा self preservation के लिए छिड़ी गई थी. We're not ones to make the first attack. But then I grew up and I thought about it. And first of all, let me make it very clear. My opinion on whether India should go to war, not on war, but my opinion on whether India should go to war with China is irrelevant.
Yeah. We're not the ones deciding anything.
Exactly. It is of no consequence. But if it were up to me, like if one fine day I wake up and in the body of Xi Jinping, I don't know if that's possible. But if I get to decide, if I get to call the shots, I will not be calling any shots. Because I think war, exactly like we were discussing before, every war is somehow fought to gain peace. And that entire concept is too paradoxical to be true. You cannot fight somebody for peace.
Yeah, so guys, thank you for listening to our podcast and listening to this episode and listening to a lot of different opinions and a lot of different topics. If you have any opinions, we would love to hear them down in the comments. And please don't forget to drop a like if you genuinely liked the video. Thank you.
And we'll be back with
Bye-bye. See you
another
guys.
episode next Saturday. Bye, guys.